Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway.
Paris.
Pamplona.
Milan, Key West. We're here in Madrid.
Running of the bulls.
We'll see the bars he drank at. And today we're going to see some of those places.
Bullfights.
The cafes where he wrote.
This festival.
Bar Hemingway. Today, we're going to talk about Ernest Hemingway's time here in the city of Milan. When you think of Ernest Hemingway, Milan isn't necessarily the first city that comes to people's mind. Often they think of Havana, Paris, Pamplona, or even Venice. But when you dig into it, it really is every bit as important as those other cities. Hemingway's experiences here in Milan shaped him not only as a writer, but they were instrumental in forming him as a person. And today, we're going to visit some of those places that had such a huge impact on him and his writing. The story begins with Hemingway's time on the front lines of World War I in northern Italy. When Ernest Hemingway was wounded, he was taken here to Milan to the Red Cross American Hospital, which was right here behind us. Hemingway was still in high school when the war broke out, and upon graduation, he tried to enlist in the army, but was turned away due to poor eyesight. Instead, he volunteered for the Red Cross Ambulance Corps, and he was sent to Italy. Most people picture World War I in the trenches of France, but in northern Italy, a very different war was raging high in the Alps. Ernest served on the front lines as an ambulance driver, where he witnessed the brutality of the war firsthand. But everything changed for Ernest on July 8, 1918. He rode his bike to the front lines and was delivering supplies when an Austrian mortar shell exploded beside him. More than 200 pieces of shrapnel tore into his legs and a machine gun bullet lodged in his knee. And he was taken across the country to this hospital here in Milan. Recovering from his wounds, he was in good spirits. He wrote home often to his family. He joked about his injuries. He even bribed an attendant to bring him a bottle of whiskey against the wishes of his doctors and nurses, of course. There's actually a plaque honoring his stay here. The plaque reads, "In the summer of 1918, this building was used as a hospital by the American Red Cross. Ernest Hemingway, wounded on the Piave front, was taken here and treated. This is the place where the true story of A Farewell to Arms was born." As the plaque alludes to, the events that unfolded here were a major inspiration for his later masterpiece, A Farewell to Arms. In the book, Hemingway's main character, Frederick Henry, was also an American ambulance driver on the Italian front of World War I. Seen here, played by Gary Cooper in the 1932 film adaptation of the book, Frederick, like Ernest, was wounded on the front lines and brought to a hospital here in Milan. In the book, Frederick falls in love with his nurse, Catherine Barkley.
I have to go now, darling. I can't stay.
You'll come back?
Later, but we'll have to be awfully careful.
You've got to come back.
I will when I can.
Similarly, in this hospital, Hemingway first met and fell in love with Agnes von Kurowsky, an American nurse who attended to him. As Hemingway recovered from his injuries, their romance developed.
You're just mine, that's true. You've never belonged to anyone else.
And they began spending more time exploring the city together. Let's go see some of the places they visited. No visit to Milan would be complete without visiting the Duomo, here in the heart of Milan. This cathedral began construction in the 14th century, and it wasn't fully completed until 1965. Ernest mentions this landmark constantly in A Farewell to Arms, including a scene during their last days together before Frederick heads back to the front. Like the characters in the book, Ernest and Agnes would stroll through the streets of Milan as their romance grew. If the Duomo is the beating heart of Milan, then the main artery is right next to us. So we're here in the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II. It's named after the king that unified Italy as a country in 1861, but most people just call it the Galleria. It's a shopping center home to luxury stores, cafes, bars, and restaurants, and it was one of the first of its kind. It has this cast iron and glass canopy, and the glass dome above us is really one of the most famous in the world. Hemingway not only mentions the Galleria 7 times in A Farewell to Arms, but even a few of the bars he frequented there. So let's go see some of them. Here in the Galleria, there's a place called Biffi, founded by Paolo Biffi in 1852. This is one of the classic restaurants of Milan and one of Hemingway's favorite spots. In A Farewell to Arms, Frederick and Catherine dine here several times. On their website, they actually list 3 famous patrons: Arturo Toscanini, renowned Italian conductor; Giuseppe Garibaldi, considered to be one of the fathers of modern Italy; and then Ernest Hemingway counts among the most famous patrons of this place here in the heart of Milan. Here inside the Galleria, there's a super famous cocktail bar called Camparino. All the way back in 1860, Gaspare Campari invented his signature liquor. The original recipe is still kept secret to this day, but no doubt you've seen a bottle of Campari at your local bar before. When the Galleria opened up, Gaspare launched a bar here called Cafè Campari, which became famous watering hole for intellectuals and celebrities of its day. An Italian soldier recommends this bar to Frederick in A Farewell to Arms, and no doubt Ernest and Agnes would have come here. The storied history, the beautiful backdrop, the decor attracts many visitors to this day. This is the cocktails that people remember. Camparino routinely makes it on the list of the 50 best bars in the world. You gotta come here and try the Campari Seltz, the Negroni, or the Shakerato. Trying the Campari Seltz here. Ooh. Very sweet, very strong flavored, amazing cocktail. If you start in the Piazza del Duomo and walk through the Galleria, you reach the Piazza alla Scala on the other end. Right here, we have the famous Scala Opera House. It was opened in 1778, and perhaps it's one of the most famous venues for opera in the entire world. Hemingway spoke about this place often in his writing. In A Farewell to Arms, he mentioned it a total of 7 times.
That's the opera I made my debut in, at the Scala.
But it's not just the fictional characters in his work. Hemingway and Agnes von Kurowsky also attended shows here. He was swept up by the romance of it all, and it's no wonder that in the end, he fell so hard for her. How could you not in a place as romantic as this? Just down the street, we have the world-famous Cova Cafe, a pastry shop founded in 1817. By the time Hemingway arrived here, it was already almost 100 years old. The original location was actually right next to the Scala Opera House, but it was destroyed by bombing during World War II, and so it moved here to Monte Napoleone. They've expanded internationally. They have locations in far-off places like Hong Kong, Dubai, and Paris. It was classically known as a meeting place for artists and fans of the opera. Even composers such as Puccini and Verdi were known to frequent it. Hemingway mentions it a total of 6 times in A Farewell to Arms. Obviously, it was a very important place for him and a very luxurious place to go try some pastries. When Hemingway's time in Italy came to an end, he returned to the United States to a hero's welcome. But the celebration didn't last long. A letter arrived from Agnes, who had remained in Milan to continue her work as a nurse. She told Hemingway that her feelings had changed and that their relationship was over. The heartbreak devastated him. Years later, Hemingway would write, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards, many are strong at the broken places." He poured that pain into his writing. More than a decade later, already a renowned author, Hemingway published A Farewell to Arms. The novel would become one of his most celebrated works, ensuring that Agnes and Milan would remain forever part of the Hemingway story. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this from around the world.